One on my son's birthday, Ethan took him and my best friend to Iceland to see the Northern Lights. That same night, I signed the divorce papers and left town. 3 years later, a kid grabbed onto my leg at the airport.
Mom, did you leave Dad and me?
I looked at the man behind the child with slightly red eyes and said coldly, "You got the wrong person." Hearing this, Joe couldn't hold it in anymore and started crying loudly. "You are Mom. I didn't mistake you." The airport was crowded, and I felt like I was on display. My dance buddy Lily stood by, looking more awkward than me. That's when Ethan approached. He pulled Joe away, his previous upset gone, cool as ever. "Joe, stop causing trouble." Joe, with tears streaming down his face and nose all red, turned to his father.
Dad.
"It's Mom. I found Mom." I was wearing sunglasses, revealing only half of an icy face, exuding a distant aura. When I coldly looked at the two of them, Ethan didn't dare meet my eyes. His gaze dimmed. "She isn't. You mistook her." Joe was stunned, his eyes widened in shock and uncertainty. Holding his hand, Ethan smiled apologetically at me. I didn't care for his apology, casually brushing off where Joe had touched. I turned and got on the plane with my companions. It was my 3rd year away. I never thought I'd run into my ex-husband and son in a foreign airport. I denied it without hesitation. Everyone thought it was genuinely a mistake by a random kid. This incident went around the dance troupe and they teased me about it. Seen lots of passionate fanboys, but a little baby fan is a first. "So we didn't know you had such a wide range of fans," Lily joked, having witnessed the whole drama. "You know, the kid does look a bit like Sue. Look at this picture." Everyone gathered in curiosity, and soon someone exclaimed, "Hey, isn't this kid the young master of the Morton family?" I'd just recovered from bumping into my ex when these familiar words hit my ears again. My eyelid twitched. The group's gossiping instinct kicked in. The person who spoke pulled out their phone, explaining to the crowd. Words like Hong Kong circle, wealthy family, top tier, air floated in. There was a chorus of exclamations. That person even pulled up earlier photos taken by paparazzi and compared them with the current airport photos of Joe. "It really is wow, Sue, look." Lily was shocked. I forced a smile, showing no interest. Some lamented my missed opportunity, while others focused elsewhere. Why did the young master randomly call someone Mom though? Where's his real mom? "No idea. Heard the Morton heir and his wife don't get along," whispered a knowledgeable friend. "Rumor is they divorced years ago but kept it under wraps." Might be true.
Huh.
Poor kid, separated from his mom at such a young age. Poor? I thought of Ethan's numerous lady friends. Plenty of women would love to be Joe's mom. He shouldn't be pitted, I thought. Ethan was notorious for his playboy ways in the HK scene. I've known him since we were little. His charming eyes could make even would look appealing. Outgoing, bold, eye-catching since forever. From kindergarten through high school, any girl he flirted with fell for him. From pure-hearted college girls to fiery female stars and models, his preferences varied. At most, they'd last 3 months, sometimes just 2 weeks. But Ethan never took to childhood friend me. Friends asked why. Ethan replied, "Being with Sue is like being with my right hand." Then why marry her? My marriage to Ethan wasn't about love. It was for the families. According to Ethan, knowing that marriage and love were just others' chess pieces made him more cavalier. In the end, it's Sue I'll marry. Might as well date a few before. Better be careful. What if Sue leaves you someday? A friend warned. Ethan let out a laugh, unclear if mocking or assured. Deep down, Ethan was always a free spirit. Even after we got engaged, I couldn't change him. I recall one year when he threw a yacht party in Victoria Harbor with some young models, and it went viral online. His extravagant lifestyle caused a stir, sending Morton family stocks tumbling overnight. Pressured by our families, I had to bring Ethan back. The model in his arms looked at me, curious, wrapping herself around Ethan and asking, "Ethan, who's she?" "My fiancé," Ethan replied. The model's eyes widened, looking me over. "You're marrying her?"
She seems so stiff.
I grew up with the poise and grace expected of someone in a wealthy family. Every gesture felt measured. Ethan had said similar things. But I maintained my composure, telling Ethan, "Come back with me." Before Ethan could reply, the model chimed in, "Miss, didn't anyone tell you? Never ruin a man's fun?" I ignored her. Over the years with Ethan, I knew her type was a dime a dozen. Most would never see me again after a day. "Ethan," I called his name. Ethan pinched the model's cheek, who pouted when ignored. "What do you think? Should I go back?" The model glanced at me, pushing a full glass of red wine towards me. Let her drink this, and I'll let you go." Ethan didn't say a word, but his gaze on me had a playful smirk. That was his way of agreeing. Honestly, I had a well-off family, matching up to the Morton family, and I never faced much humiliation. But Ethan managed to humble my pride on several occasions. I remembered what the Mortons said when I arrived. Clenching my fists, I gulped down the wine. Cough, cough, cough. I was choking on it, my eyes watering, stubbornly staring at Ethan. "Finished, let's go," I said. Ethan chuckled. Why so obedient? He reached to wipe the wine from my lips, but I dodged him. His hand paused, and he laughed lightly. He pushed the model draped over him aside. "Let's go." I've dealt with situations like this a lot. I felt like a story character doing whatever was scripted. After the divorce, stepping out of it was like coming up for air, a new chance at life. I bet Ethan felt the same way. Without me, the boring and stiff person, he must be having a great time. I quickly tossed the Ethan stuff out of my mind. But the dance troupe folks, maybe bored with practice, buzzed over anything new. The troupe leader brought some people for a tour at the opera house one day. Ethan was at the center, surrounded like some kind of big deal. The dance troupe folks recognized him as the gossip topic these past days, excitedly nudging each other. The leader introduced us in English. "This is our rehearsal room. These are our dancers, and this is Sue, our principal dancer. She's Chinese." Ethan, all dressed in suit and tie, looked imposing, not like the reckless guy I once knew. Those charming eyes of his had grown steady and intense with time. We shared a quick look, and I turned away, nodding slightly. I didn't want to get involved with Ethan again. Hoped he would ignore me like at the airport. But nope, Ethan's cheeky voice cut through. "I know her. She's my wife." Before Ethan visited the troupe, everyone was curious about him. But the big question was always, who's Ethan's wife? I'm not like Ethan, who makes frequent headlines. Even getting married and having a child, it was low-key. Years of hiding were undone by Ethan's little grin and comment. Everyone was shocked to learn the gossip subject was right there among them. They were looking at me awkwardly now. Before Ethan spoke, they were all, "Sue, he's totally staring at you." They thought this was some romantic start. Didn't see it was more of a reunion signal. Leaving the troupe, I found Ethan waiting outside my apartment building. Standing by his black car, he almost blended into the night. His eyes lit up seeing me, smiling. He called, "Sue." It sounded so familiar and natural, like the last 3 years never happened. I kept walking, but he reached out to grab me. "Scram," I snapped coldly. Ethan turned his head from the impact, a bit surprised, but still smiling. Sue's got a temper now, even hitting people. I stared coldly. Ethan asked, "Calm down? Come back with me, Sue. I've missed you." His voice was suddenly soft, almost pleading. That's him. Always the trickster. As if I'm the unreasonable one, when he's the one at fault. "Ethan, we're divorced," I reminded him. "I didn't sign, doesn't count," he said, almost playfully. I took a deep breath. "Doesn't matter. We've been separated 2 years. I can still file for divorce." Ethan's face changed, his eyes dark and intense now. "Sue, does it have to be this way?" I gave a cold smile and walked away. I tried to ignore Ethan, but he kept popping up more often. Excuses to visit the troupe, waiting by the theater for me. Annoying. Back when we were married, he'd disappear for days, not even telling me if he traveled, flying off with a favorite girl. Now suddenly Ethan seems so free, pestering me, his ex-wife. What's he after? I wanted to ignore Ethan, but people kept bringing me updates. Lily, hesitantly, approached as I was focused on the next performance rehearsal. "Sue, who is this Jennifer? What's her deal with Ethan? It's been a while since I've heard that name." I paused. Then Lily showed her phone.
Got it.
Yesterday, Ethan didn't show. Turned out he attended an auction, spending a ridiculous amount on a bracelet. Media reports blew up online, with people wondering who it was for. Then Jennifer, a trending actress in China, posted something vague on social media, hinting it was from Ethan. Curious gossipers dug into her background, linking her family's ties to Mortons and Ethan. There were even photos of her with the Morton men, with headlines like "Looks like a family of 3." The troop folks, knowing my story, connected dots and started worrying and feeling sorry for me. After practice, I saw Ethan at the theater doors again. It's like he doesn't get it. Even after being brushed off, he just goes on his way. With news about him and Jennifer everywhere, he seemed oblivious. "I got us reservations at that French place you like," he said. "Let's go together." After Ethan found me, it didn't take him long to figure out my habits over the years. He usually pulls this trick to charm girlfriends or some young flings. During dinner, Ethan handed me a box. "Picked up something yesterday, thought it might suit you." I opened it, and it was that insanely expensive bracelet from the auction. "So, this isn't for Jennifer, huh?" I said sarcastically. Hearing her name, Ethan frowned slightly. "She doesn't deserve it," he said with a hint of distaste in his tone. I found it funny. Didn't you used to like her quite a bit? This was the first time Ethan and I sat down for a calm chat after reuniting. Jennifer's name was coming up between us for the first time in years. When we first got married, I'd intended to be amicable with Ethan. I knew he was a romantic and wanted to give girls around the world a home. So I figured out my place early on. As long as Ethan didn't parade those girls around in front of me, I wouldn't complain much. Until he got involved with Jennifer. Jennifer was my best friend. From middle school through college, we were inseparable. She knew all my heart's secrets and desires. She was my bridesmaid at my wedding and my baby's godmother after I gave birth. But in the end, she betrayed me with Ethan. At Joe's second birthday, Jennifer came to celebrate. "Hey, sweetie, let godmother give you a hug." As she cuddled Joe, I noticed fresh love bites on her neck and a pretty expensive necklace. I was a bit startled. "Jennifer, are you seeing someone?" Jennifer looked shy and nodded. "Who is it?" "You've never mentioned anyone." "Well, it's not public yet," Jennifer said. She had entered the entertainment industry by then and had gained some fame. I understood that being a star meant a public relationship could hurt her career. So I didn't press much, even though I was a bit surprised. I genuinely felt happy for Jennifer finding someone she liked. "Let us meet him sometime," I said. Just as I finished speaking, Ethan walked in late. "What's the chatter?" "Seems fun." Ethan, then 26, had outgrown his wild, youthful days and was looking more like the Morton family heir. He seemed to have settled down, sometimes going out with me, and the media labeled him as a reformed bad boy.
"Jennifer has a boyfriend now," I said.
"Though she can't be my best friend's bridesmaid, Joe can be the ring bearer. What do you think?" Ethan didn't reply, just took Joe from Jennifer and smiled. Jennifer also smiled. I thought they both agreed to my proposal. Looking back, it felt ironic. After Jennifer's career took off, some haters accused her of using connections. Being her loyal friend, I defended her fiercely online. Afraid negative comments might upset her, I comforted her all night. "Those folks said you have a sponsor." "How smart. How did they figure out your biggest backer is me?" I joked. Not hearing a response from Jennifer for quite a while, I got concerned. "Jennifer," I heard soft laughter over the phone, a mix of blissful and unidentifiable breathing. "Thanks, Sue, I'm okay." Despite my surprise, I finished what I had to say. "Good. Make sure you're not upset." "I'm not upset. My boyfriend is comforting me." Ah. Only then did I understand what that strange breathlessness was. I blushed. "Not gonna chat anymore. You take care. If you need help, I'll get Ethan's PR team on it." Okay, the phone clicked off. Soon enough, Jennifer's negative buzz vanished. A year later, a hit drama propelled Jennifer to a list status. That drama won awards, and the Morton family sponsored it. I found an excuse to witness my friend's big moment and asked Ethan for the chance to present an award. On stage, I hugged her and the trophy. "Congrats. Did your boyfriend come?" Jennifer gave me a mysterious smile and hugged me. He did, sitting down there. Afterward, I looked around. What are you looking for? Ethan asked. Jennifer's boyfriend. Heard he's here today. Ethan paused his gesture of covering my legs with his jacket. He playfully tapped my nose. Don't be so curious. Indeed, I shouldn't be curious. I never met Jennifer's boyfriend. I only got glimpses of his existence through her social media posts flaunting gifts he gave her. Until her birthday, I called to ask how she'd like to celebrate. Sorry, darling. I'm shooting that day. Probably can't make plans with you. All right. I hung up, dejected. Just then, I got a message from Ethan about a business trip. And Joe was already taken to Morton's family home. Bored, I decided to surprise Jennifer. Rekindle our decade-long friendship. That very night, at her post-shoot apartment, two figures were entangled at the door, kissing, their breaths mixed with intimacy. I bought new lingerie. I'll put it on for you soon. You tease. It was Jennifer and Ethan. 3 days later, I was on a flight back home. Ethan draped a blanket over me. He said there'd be media waiting at the airport. Seeing my cold expression, he squeezed my hand. Sue, you should smile. 3 days prior, Ethan had bluntly stated his intentions. He wanted me to return home. For these 3 years, I've been telling everyone you're studying abroad, but Sue, you can't keep disappearing. For those paparazzi are so boring. Over the years, they've written again and again about my supposed breakup with Ethan. He can barely keep up with it. Why bother suppressing it? Isn't it true? I scoffed. Joe's birthday is next month. He's smart enough now, and I don't want him growing up in a broken home. You could marry a new wife, and he could have a new mom, I said, referring to his little flings or even Jennifer. I didn't care at all. Ethan's eyes trembled a bit, avoiding my gaze.
You're different from them, he said.
His exact words. I frowned hard. I didn't want to go back to our country, but Ethan always had his ways. I know you like this dance troupe here. If you go back, you can still dance and even take the troupe with you. But he threatened me with the jobs of my dance partners. I slapped him hard across the face. Ethan, you're disgusting. Ethan chuckled. Sue, don't hurt your hand. Then he pleaded, come back with me, Sue. I finally got it. He was determined. My fingers turned white from the pressure. I compromised. I can go back, but I have one condition. Go ahead, he replied. If all you need is a stable marriage to uphold the Mortons' image, we can maintain a relationship under an agreement. You sign the papers and we'll divorce without announcing it. Ethan stared at me intensely. What if I don't agree? His voice was slow and strained. I looked at him coldly and raised my left wrist. Then I can choose to escape, or I can choose to die. Seeing the deep scar on my wrist, Ethan turned pale, a sudden look of pain in his eyes. Ethan, you can't keep an eye on me all year round. He gave in. After we got off the plane, he held me close through the carefully arranged passage. On the day we returned, images of us together were plastered on the front page. Ethan seemed really pleased. On the way home, he eagerly tried to start conversations. The house is all set up. Nothing has changed. There are a bunch of tulips in the garden. You used to love them, didn't you? He rattled on a bit too much, buzzing in my ear. When I closed my eyes and frowned, he stopped, quietly pulling up the blanket over me. Back home, I met Joe. He was neatly dressed, holding the housekeeper's hand, looking all nervous by the ornate iron gate. When he saw me get out of the car, his eyes lit up like two gleaming black grapes.
Mom.
Before I knew it, he had hugged my leg. He looked up at me with sparkling eyes. You're finally back. This time, I finally looked at him seriously. He was just 4 when I left, and now he's grown a bit. Looks like a little man. I carried him for 9 months. I should love him dearly. But now, I managed to keep the urge to hug him at bay. I casually patted his head. You've grown a bit, Joe. Even the simplest gesture made Joe feel thrilled. I got you a present, Mom. He pulled out a small gift box, but I didn't take it. Joe's expectant smile froze, his bright eyes turning anxious and timid. Ethan stepped in. Joe, Mommy just got back and is tired. Let her rest first. Okay, Joe said. The house was indeed, just as Ethan said, unchanged. How it was when I left was exactly how it was when I returned. The vase in the living room hadn't been swapped, the trinkets on the table still there. I remembered Ethan used to find these things childish and not to his taste. Yet after I left, he hadn't changed them. Later in the master bedroom, I noticed our wedding photo that I shattered was somehow restored and hanging on the wall. I paused for a moment. Beside me, Ethan's expression grew tense. He quietly clenched his fist, expecting me to say something. But I said nothing, so the expectation in his eyes turned to disappointment. To ensure I felt at home, Ethan personally told the housekeeper about my changes in taste and habits over the years. Joe stood small by the side, watching me with both excitement and nervousness. I crashed out for a while, waking up the next day around noon. From downstairs, I heard faint voices. It was Jennifer. I'd only been back a day, and she was already here. She sat confidently on the living room sofa, chatting with the housekeeper. She acted so at ease, as if she owned the place. Hearing footsteps, she turned. Her pretty eyes took a moment to size me up before smiling. "Sue, you're back?" I ignored Jennifer. The housekeeper, who had been talking to her, quickly approached with respect. "Madam, you're awake? I'll have some food prepared right away." Jennifer, stunned by my indifference, swiftly regained composure and approached me. "Sue," she said as her gaze lingered on my wrist for a second, "I was wearing the bracelet Ethan got for me. The journalists saw it yesterday, too. Some cheeky tabloid had even zoomed in, putting a shot of me wearing the bracelet alongside Jennifer's suggestive social media post. The writer made a point of highlighting their confusion about Jennifer's post. Soon enough, the internet was buzzing about Jennifer. Wasn't this bracelet supposed to be bought for some starlet by the Morton guy? Why is she wearing it? Haha, maybe somebody got used to riding the hype. She's just an actress, after all, not in the league of the big players. Fun fact, Jennifer and Ethan's wife used to be besties. Not so fun fact, Jennifer likes the Morton CEO.
Wow.
You're kidding, right? Snatching your best pal's husband. Unbelievable. The thing caused quite a stir on social media the day it happened. Jennifer's fans tried to clean it up but gave up and started arguing online. Which one of you saw Jennifer saying the bracelet was for her? 5. I am so fed up with you people who take things out of context online. It's because of you that the internet's such a mess. What do you mean, stealing a boyfriend from a friend? Everyone knows our Jennifer is the godmother of the little prince of the Morton family. Even a good relationship can be twisted by you guys, seriously. As the drama blew up, Jennifer couldn't stay quiet anymore. She posted on Weibo again. Jennifer V. didn't expect such a misunderstanding. Sorry for the trouble. But her statement didn't seem to matter. Most people still criticized her, saying she shouldn't claim something that's not hers. I can only imagine how Jennifer felt, and knowing her, she probably didn't sleep well last night. Poor her, and here she is at my place first thing in the morning. I was slowly finishing my breakfast, and Jennifer, despite it all, smiled at me. "Sue, we haven't seen each other in 3 years. You still look just as good." Honestly, I admire her. After everything, she can still pretend nothing happened and chat with me. Really? But you've gotten more annoying, I replied. Her smile faltered, but she quickly recovered, teary-eyed and apologetic. "After all these years, are you still upset?" "Ah." Before she could finish, she shrieked. Milk dripped down her face, soaking her clothes. She looked at me, shocked and in disbelief. "Can you not talk? It's disgusting." Her eyes burned with anger. I glanced at the butler. Is our security system so lax that anyone can just waltz in? The butler hesitated, not daring to answer. Annoyed, I said, "Make her leave. I've lost my appetite." "Yes," replied the butler as he approached Jennifer. "Miss, please."
"Sue."
"What right do you have to make me leave?" Jennifer snarled, no longer maintaining her celebrity composure. "It's ridiculous. This is my house. I'm the lady here. Do I have to explain why someone has to go?" Finally, I looked her in the eyes. "If you're not going, should I?" Then looked past her. "Ethan, what do you think?" Panic washed over her face as she turned quickly. "Ethan, I didn't. Yet she stopped short upon seeing the empty doorway, fury flashing in her eyes as she glared back. You tricked me? I couldn't help but laugh. Her face was twisted with rage. Ignoring her, I walked upstairs, telling the butler to bring up another breakfast and to dispose of the things she touched. Yes, he said, as Jennifer's eyes drilled into my back. I wasn't scared. I came back to make her life miserable. That morning's drama reached Ethan later in the day. When he came home, he noticed the new sofa and rug but asked nothing. Instead, he stopped me from going into my room and explained, I didn't know she'd come. When you left, Joe wouldn't stop crying, and she helped calm him down, so that's why I brushed off his hand indifferently. You don't need to explain, Ethan. It's not 3 years ago. I don't care anymore. His face drained of color, and after a moment, he left, flustered. A few days later, Joe came looking for me. From behind a garden pillar, he peeked at me a few times, too timid to approach. It had been like this for days, and I'd noticed. Finally, I put down my book and turned to him. What's up? Joe glanced around, realizing I was speaking to him, and tentatively walked over. Mom, he started. I just looked at him. He plucked up the courage. Mom, can you help me bake a cake? I looked at him, puzzled. Joe explained, for my birthday, I want to make a cake with you and Dad. His birthday was next week. A world-class pastry chef was already working on a cake for that day. I thought it over and decided not to refuse. Okay. That afternoon, Ethan came home as Joe and I were in the kitchen whipping cream, guided by a pastry chef. Joe, earnest and focused on his dough, looked cute. What are you making? Ethan asked. A maid explained. Right then, Joe called him over. Dad, come help me bake. Ethan seemed surprised but glanced at me. Seeing no objection, he smiled.
All right.
Finally, by 4 p.m., the cake was ready. The pastry chef suggested we do the final decoration together. Joe grabbed a piping bag with excitement. I guided his small hand, and he glanced at me, eyes sparkling. Then he looked at Ethan behind us. Ethan tentatively reached out to hold my hand. As I didn't pull away, he held it tighter. The decoration turned out beautifully, and Joe was overjoyed. He devoured 2 slices, declaring it the sweetest cake ever. I'll make another for my birthday. It'll be super duper sweet. This year, for Joe's birthday, the Morton family created a video and displayed it on the city's largest LED screen to celebrate the Little Prince's Day. They invited some notable business figures, along with media journalists. Joe's birthdays had been celebrated before, but never with such extravagance. Ethan must have planned this because it wasn't just Joe's birthday, it was also the first time in 3 years that the 3 of us appeared together publicly. Clearly, he took this party very seriously. 6 on Joe's birthday, celebrities from all walks of life showed up. Besides the reporters who were invited, some paparazzi were lurking around, hoping to grab some juicy details. The buzz was through the roof. But soon, people noticed Jennifer wasn't there. Isn't Jennifer the godmother of the Morton family's little prince? Why didn't she show up? Maybe she wasn't even invited, haha. Who started the rumor that Jennifer's Joe's godmother? Are people just riding the hype? Come on, don't forget about the photo Jennifer posted with the Morton family 4 years ago. Yeah, they were together watching the auroras in Iceland. Would you do that if you weren't close? People were going nuts online. Jennifer's fans tried to defend her with, "Our girl is just busy filming. Thanks for asking." But then, to everyone's surprise, there she was, right at the villa's front gate.
Told you.
As the godmother, Jennifer would definitely show up for little Joe's birthday. In a flash, Jennifer's fans changed their tune. When I saw Jennifer, she was crouched in front of Joe, handing him the gift she had brought. "Joe, check out what I got you." Joe, oblivious to the past tensions, happily accepted the gift. Jennifer spotted me and walked over with a perfectly poised smile. "Sue," she murmured just low enough for the 2 of us to hear. To outsiders, it looked like we were still close. Her friendly smile didn't falter as we chatted. "I know you didn't want to see me, but I still came. Yet you're leaving soon, aren't you?" I replied with a smile. Jennifer's expression shifted as Ethan noticed her. He hadn't expected her to show up uninvited. But since it was Joe's birthday, he didn't make a scene, only signaling security to escort her out. Jennifer used to be my best friend, and the Mortons always treated her with respect. Who would have thought she'd be publicly thrown out now? Just before being dragged away, Jennifer grabbed me in anger.
Sue.
I just came to celebrate Joe's birthday. Did you really have to do this? I've known Joe since he was a kid. I truly care about him. Is that so? I stared at her. Does your sincere care include trying to take my place? You even had eyes on my husband back then. Who's to say you wouldn't prey on my son? So you're just taking revenge? Jennifer retorted bitterly. You know how hard I worked to get to where I am. Now Ethan's taking everything away from me to please you? That was when I realized Jennifer came here gambling for a chance. Ever since she was kicked out of the villa that day, the Mortons had been pulling back their support for her. Though fans hadn't noticed yet, insiders knew. Jennifer wasn't about to let all her efforts go down the drain. She risked coming to Joe's party to squash the rumors and, quite frankly, to bask in the spotlight a bit. What hard work are you talking about? I got you all your opportunities in showbiz. Without me, with your lack of acting chops and no backing, you'd be nowhere, I taunted. Her face went pale and then flushed with embarrassment. I wasn't shy about laying it on thicker. You know why Ethan only recently pulled your resources? It's because I'm back. He wants to show me he's serious, so he's only punishing you now. Oh, Jennifer, you thought I was your only enemy? Ethan's in this too. To him, I'm the number one. I couldn't help but laugh, feeling a sting of satisfaction. Jennifer probably knew the truth. But seeing me spell it out arrogantly, the envy and malice in her eyes were undeniable. Don't get so angry. This is just the beginning. The real show's yet to start. I gestured to the security nearby. Why are you just standing there? Get her out. The guards grabbed Jennifer by her arms and tossed her out. Of course, the paparazzi caught it all on their live streams. Within seconds, it went viral. Everyone knew how close Jennifer and I had been, how I had always defended her. Her fans had always boasted about their idol being my close friend in the Morton family, causing quite a stir in the entertainment world. Now it was clear I had severed all ties with Jennifer.
Whoa.
What's going on? What happened? Yeah, wasn't Sue Jennifer's bestie? Now she's being kicked out of the party? Total fallout, right? I have a feeling this is deeper than it looks. Oh, it was complicated, all right. Because soon, everyone saw Jennifer's opportunities dwindling day by day. Movies she was shooting got recast. Endorsements were being handed to other Morton talents. People online began speculating what on earth had happened. Jennifer's status in the entertainment industry plummeted overnight. This entire mess, Ethan relayed to me through others. He seemed genuinely remorseful and wanted to make amends. Pictures from Joe's birthday surfaced, showing Ethan doting on me, sparking a flurry of praise online about our strong relationship. It was all quite the spectacle. 7-wife fangirl over fake celebrity couples when we have real power couples from wealthy families?
Exactly.
Equal partnerships, childhood sweethearts, well-matched families. Who even understands the value of a reformed playboy? It's straight out of a novel. This buzz gave Morton's family stock a nice boost. Ethan seemed to enjoy these marketing videos so much that he secretly boosted their popularity. I found the whole thing amusing, watching Jennifer struggle. Even Ethan seemed more likable these days. A few days later, Ethan invited me to a performance, looking a bit nervous about it. When I nodded, he let out a sigh of relief and smiled. But halfway through the performance, his phone started lighting up nonstop. His secretary soon whispered something to him, and his expression turned serious. Sue, I have some matters to deal with. I need to step out for a bit. It was rare to see Ethan look so grim. Watching his hurried exit, I checked my phone and realized things had hit the fan. Jennifer had posted a long piece and a video online. She wrote, "Thanks for all the concern lately and apologies for taking up public resources. About the rumors concerning Sue and me, I want to respond here. Sue and I haven't been friends for a long time because she suspected something inappropriate between Ethan and me." Jennifer painted her recent troubles as retaliation for my side and implied I was jealous. She said it all stemmed from the Morton family's favoritism towards her and Ethan's special treatment. Ethan and I have always been partners who respect each other. Sure, I've had a crush on him, but that's not a reason for Sue to retaliate against me because they divorced 3 years ago. She then dropped a video and a photo of a divorce agreement. The video showed a cluttered hospital room, with me looking angry and red-eyed. Ethan, we're getting a divorce. The figure turned away from the camera was unmistakably Ethan. The photo at the end was the divorce agreement I signed when I left. I was shocked, watching that video over and over, until suddenly it read, "Video loading failed. Ethan had intervened." Jennifer's post was managed, but he underestimated the internet's power. People were quick to save screenshots. Jennifer's fans were outraged and swarmed Morton's official social media. "Is this what your lady boss is like? Your company will tank. Suspicious just because an actress progresses well. Your lady boss sounds petty. Pretending to be a loving couple post-divorce. Did Jennifer deserve to be part of your game? Sue, you're awful. Just die." Some fans got personal with their attacks on me. The Morton PR team worked overtime, but couldn't suppress the trending chaos. It dragged on for days. People even called my phone. Worse yet, they dug into my dance troupe past, causing trouble for my crew. "Sue, are you okay?" Lily didn't know the full story, but tried to back me, though her voice was too small to matter. She could only ask worriedly, "I'm fine. Sorry for dragging you guys into this."
I'll handle it.
Truth is, I'm not okay. My head's been pounding since I saw that video, and even hanging up the phone didn't help. Joe stood by, looking anxious and scared. Morton's made him stay home to shield him from gossip. Now his eyes brimmed with tears as he approached me. "Mom, did you really divorce Dad?" Joe's face looked so much like Ethan's, yet I couldn't help seeing someone else too. If things were different, if he'd been born well. I laughed a cold laugh. "Yep, I went abroad to get away from both your dad and you." Joe's tears fell in streams.
Why?
Why else? Because I stopped loving him. I can't even recall how I felt when I discovered Ethan and Jennifer's affair, though just the thought makes me shaky and pained. All I remember is feeling deeply nauseated, inside and out, punctured by sharp pains, with a warm trickle down my legs. Ethan had looked pale and shocked. That was the trauma that lost me a second child. When I woke, Ethan was at my bedside, eyes shadowed and unshaven, looking ragged and broken.
Sue.
Relief and panic covered his face when I opened my eyes, but I just felt repulsed. I threw everything sight at him, screaming for answers.
Why?
Why'd you do this? Ethan stood there, taking it, letting me vent. I only had one thing to say after. "Ethan, we're divorcing." Tears filled his eyes, visibly hurt.
No, Sue.
After discharge, I moved away from the Morton mansion. Ethan tried to reach me several times, but I only repeated one thing whenever I saw him. "Sign the papers." He couldn't bear it anymore and started avoiding me. He disappeared for over a month before suddenly popping up in Jennifer's social media. That day was Joe's birthday. I wanted to go home to celebrate with him, but couldn't find anyone there. Jennifer posted on social media, "Right now, I feel like the happiest person alive." In the photo, Joe is being hugged by her and Ethan. Under the stunning auroras, the three of them look like a perfect little family. That night, I left a divorce agreement and went abroad on my own. I ended up with severe depression while overseas. At my worst, I attempted to take my own life by slitting my wrist. Once wasn't enough, so I cut again over the first wound. But it didn't work. A white girl next door saved me. "You've already died once. From now on, you're a new you," she said in broken Chinese. That winter, she stayed by my side. Her name was Lily. Joe doesn't understand what suicide means. He just cries his heart out over and over. I looked up indifferently and saw Ethan at the door. I don't know when he came back. His expression mirrored the shock I saw when we met again at the airport. His eyes suddenly turned red, and he seemed lost. Ethan and I didn't speak a word. After that day, Ethan disappeared again. I heard he was dealing with Jennifer's issues at work. He really wanted to patch things up between us, but Jennifer's situation messed everything up. He almost took revenge on Jennifer with how he suppressed her. Jennifer was an artist under the Morton family, and Ethan held every bit of dirt on her. Even if he didn't have any, he'd make some up. Soon enough, all kinds of scandals about Jennifer were exposed. But the thing that truly destroyed her was an anonymous video. It highlighted countless of Jennifer's glorious deeds from childhood. At 15, she got pregnant, was isolated by classmates, and asked around for money to get an abortion. That's when I first met her. She begged me not to tell anyone about her pregnancy, saying it would ruin her life. I felt sorry for her and lent her money. Grateful, Jennifer helped me with many things, and we became best friends. By 18, she wanted to win a competition so badly that she put nails in the shoes of a rival practicing dance, causing them to fall and miss the competition. That was during our 3rd year of friendship, and she claimed luck helped her win first place. At 20, she joined the entertainment industry. To secure a lead role, she slept with the director and writer, only to later cry to me that she had been coerced. To protect her in the industry, I poured in resources. And there was so much more. Jennifer used to portray herself as perfect and pitiful in front of me. I was too blind to see the real her. Looking back, I realized I never truly understood others. After the video was released, public opinion flipped. Her fans, who previously defended her, were shocked by her true colors. They turned their backs on her, and it was a spectacle to behold. Jennifer's career was over. The Morton family capitalized on the moment, releasing a statement denying Jennifer's claims as defamatory lies and pursuing legal action. Ethan shared the statement, adding, "Sue is my only wife." A week later, this drama wrapped up. Jennifer became an internet ghost. The world was finally quiet again, until the day Joe disappeared. Around that time, I got a call from Jennifer. "Sue, I've got your son. Come see me, and I'll let him go."
Of course, I didn't go.
I called the police instead. Joe was rescued within an hour. He wrapped his arms around my neck, crying in fear. Jennifer was subdued and arrested by the police, hatred burning in her eyes. "Sue, you won." I loosened my hold on Joe and walked to Jennifer. Without warning, I slapped her hard, twice. The cops barely had time to react before I grabbed Jennifer by the hair, yanking it viciously. Jennifer screamed in agony. "Jennifer, those 2 slaps were one for me and one for my son." I continued, "I've never wronged you, but your actions make me want to cut you 10 times over." Jennifer let out a cold laugh. "Sue, if you hadn't told everyone about my teenage pregnancy, I wouldn't have been isolated. Don't think I didn't know. You befriended me only to enjoy seeing me act like a loyal servant at your beck and call. You're no different than the others who looked down on me." I finally understood. Jennifer's resentment for me had been there all along. She locked her eyes on mine, spewing, "Honestly, Sue, while you were pregnant, I slept with Ethan." Her smile was malicious, like she wanted to deliver the final blow. I paused for a moment before calmly responding, "Believe it or not, I never told anyone about your pregnancy." Jennifer was stunned. Ethan hired the best legal team with just one demand: never see Jennifer again. Jennifer was convicted and sentenced. I heard her trial was broadcast live, marking a social death for her. Once everything was over, Ethan seemed relieved. Yet, he was still too scared to face me, fearing I'd mention divorce the moment we spent any time together. Later, Joe wanted to visit an amusement park. He'd just been through the trauma of being kidnapped. To help ease his mind, I agreed. Ethan cleared a day from his schedule to join us. On our way, though, a car ran a red light. To avoid it, we crashed into a fence. Thankfully, it wasn't too bad. Joe and I were okay, but Ethan wasn't. He was diagnosed with HIV. To prevent any further complications from the car accident, the hospital scheduled a series of tests for us. Ethan only had a mild concussion, but during the tests, they found out he was HIV positive. When the doctor broke the news, Ethan's parents were there. Ethan's mom cried out in agony, "Oh my goodness," and then fainted. His dad, though, kept a poker face and told the doctor to hurry up with a treatment plan. I stood in the hallway, watching Ethan through the glass. He looked like he had lost his soul, just desolate and empty. When I went in, Ethan was leaning against the headboard. The handsome, bright look he used to have was gone. He was pale and fragile. When he saw me, he forced a weak smile. "Sue, do you think this is karma?" Ethan started treatment, but we all knew it couldn't fix everything. With the Morton family's money, all they could do was make it less painful for when he goes. I headed back to the villa. Joe didn't know what was happening, just thought his dad was busy. 2 months later, I got a call from Ethan's lawyer. "Hey, Sue, I'm Ethan's lawyer." In the hospital room, the lawyer showed up with a divorce agreement right in front of Ethan and me. "Ethan appointed me to draft this. Sue, if you divorce, you'll get 20% of Ethan's shares, plus the rest of the properties, cars, stocks, funds." The lawyer went on and on. I glanced at Ethan. He looked even weaker after the 2 months. It's ironic. He didn't want to leave before. Now that he's dying, he's all for it. I glanced at the document. "I'm not signing this." The room went quiet. Ethan looked up at me.
Why not?
"Haven't you always wanted a divorce?" "Yeah, I did always want to get away from Ethan. But now that he's dying, what's there to run from?" I looked at the lawyer. "Can you give us a minute?" The lawyer left, and it was just Ethan and me. I continued. "Do you know why I won't sign it? You think I'm doing it out of sentiment?" "No, the truth is, I want you dead more than anyone else." "Do you think your change of heart would soften mine?" "That wouldn't make up for the hurt I've gone through. From the moment he forced me back home, I've been thinking of getting back at him. Didn't expect him to fall sick and die first. It sounds good-hearted divorcing so I can have something. But just 20% of the shares? Barely enough. If Ethan dies, I'm the rightful heir. I'll get way more. Does he think his good deed before dying will make me forgive him? No, I'm going to twist that knife before he goes. I hate Ethan." I looked him in the eye. "You might have the ability to get back at me, but Ethan, a dying man, what's there to be scared of?" After I said that, Ethan's gaze shook hard. Seeing the seriousness in my eyes, he knew I wasn't joking. Then he painfully said, with a deep and emotional look, "Sue, I won't get back at you. I love you." I laughed dryly. "Oh, really? Love is supposed to be more certain. Ethan, I've known you for years, but never felt it." After that day, I never saw Ethan again. The Morton family kept things under wraps to prevent any stock shakeups. 2 months later, the hospital called.
Ethan was about gone.
This time the hospital room was crowded. The lawyer from before was there too. The lawyer was reading Ethan's will aloud to everyone. On the bed, Ethan was unconscious, barely alive with IVs and oxygen keeping him alive. As per Ethan's wishes, he leaves 60% of his shares to Ms. Sue and 20% to his son Joe, with Ms. Sue managing it until Joe is of age and the rest. I didn't expect Ethan to change his will. A deathly quiet hung in the air. Only the lawyer's formal voice echoed. And right after the reading ended, Ethan's heart rate monitor beeped twice. Then it flatlined. Quiet sobs filled the room. Everyone bowed their heads in mourning. I silently watched as they covered Ethan's face with a white sheet, lowering my eyes to hide my feelings. After Ethan passed, Joe was brought back to the Morton family estate by Ethan's parents to be raised as the next heir. He didn't want to go, clinging to my leg. "Mom, are you leaving me?" He didn't get the whole separation and death thing, but at Ethan's funeral, he seemed to feel something, and now he had to leave me. Joe cried so hard, he could barely breathe. I ignored the sharp pain in my heart and finally bent down to hug him. I'm not.
But I couldn't take him with me.
Ethan's parents were heartbroken over losing their son. Joe was their only hope. Being with the Morton family really was best for him. I always thought over my 20-something years, I'd been the perfect daughter and wife. But when it came to being a mom, I fell short with Joe. I'll always love you, but I also want to love myself. Ethan knew Sue liked him from way back. At 18, her friend Jennifer confronted him. "Ethan, what's wrong with you, just messing with someone's feelings like that?"
He was confused at the time.
Jennifer's accusations made him realize Sue had liked him then. She'd carefully picked out a gift for his birthday, but to keep his girlfriend at the time, who was the school beauty, from getting jealous, he threw it out. Ethan and Sue had known each other since childhood. Their families were similar, and their grandparents had been friends for ages. Everyone assumed Sue would be Ethan's future wife, but he didn't really feel much for her because she seemed dull. Her life seemed to be all about one thing: marrying into the Mortons. She learned all the right social graces and knew all the moves of the upper class. Every smile and gesture seemed artificial, like they were practiced 1,000 times. I was a flashy guy by nature, so girls who were as bland as water didn't really catch my eye. That was until the freshman party, when Sue performed a dance that wowed everyone. All the guys in the college were talking about going after her. Then I was told that she and I were already set up in an arranged marriage since we were kids. Curious folks came to ask me if it was true. Annoyed, I said, "Get lost. I'm not into her. The whole arranged marriage thing is just a joke." Back then, I was young and cared a lot about appearances. Arranged marriages just weren't my thing. "Really? If you don't want her, I might go for it," the guy said excitedly. A strange feeling hit me hard. I wanted to say something, but my throat felt bitter. He did go for it, using a club dinner as an excuse to confess his feelings in front of everyone. Sue stood there, surrounded by candles, looking flustered and unsure of what to do. I could tell she wasn't into that guy. Faced with such a scene, she was just uncomfortable and lost. Sue kept looking at me, hoping I'd help her out. In that moment, when her eyes met mine, they were like a misty pool in the fall. My heart skipped a beat, but I pretended not to care and looked away. Sue lowered her gaze, disappointed. She didn't end up accepting that guy's confession. I felt a weird relief when I heard her rejection. Sue had never been in a relationship before. She had been a good girl since childhood. As she grew up, she always followed the rules. Some even said she was staying pure for me. They admired and clicked their tongues in envy. "Ethan sure is charming. Even with plenty of other women, he still has a loyal one at home." I cursed them with a smile, but truthfully, I was quite pleased to hear people say Sue had deep feelings for me. A few years later, our family started talking about our wedding. "What do you think of that girl from the Taylor family?" they asked. "If you don't like her, we won't go through with it." My family knew well about my carefree nature. Watching me change girlfriends one after another, they finally couldn't hold back their concern. I shrugged. "Marry her, why not? Sue was actually pretty great." When my friends heard about the engagement, they were amazed. "I thought you'd be a playboy forever. I can't believe you're getting married, and to Sue no less." They were shocked and curious. "But why would Sue marry a guy like you, the playboy? Why wouldn't she?" I boasted. "I've fooled around for a few years, but I'll be hers for the decades to come." I even imagined a life filled with love with Sue. But I forgot that when you fake something for too long, you forget how to be sincere. Sue was the perfect wife. But I had been wild for so long, I couldn't stop it. Initially, I felt guilt-ridden when I cheated, but then I noticed Sue seemed unfazed by it. Maybe becoming my wife was all she wanted. So it went on until, when Sue was pregnant, Jennifer ended up in my bed. At first, I was scared and anxious, but who could really tell in the shadows? I kept deluding and tormenting myself, enjoying the double life. I even thought, if things come to light, Sue would forgive me anyway. After all, she had loved me for so long. But 3 years later, as I lay on my deathbed, I realized her love for me had long withered away into hatred, built up from years of disappointment. When I died, she didn't shed a single tear. She just stood there, indifferent, staring at me emotionlessly. But I distinctly remembered the first year of our marriage. She had cooked and waited for me to come home from work, and when she saw me, she happily leaped into my arms. "Ethan, you're back." End of story.